For softball fans, he's a household name. And he's the king of softball. This year marks the 60th anniversary for Eddie Feigner and his 4 traveling teammates, or as most fans know them by, the king in his court.
He pitches blindfolded, strikes you out. Pitches from second base, strikes you out.
Yeah.
Throws strikes from center field. This guy was phenomenal.
4 guys could take on a team and whip them, so to speak.
Feigner was out in center field pitching them, killing them, laughing at them.
Yeah.
Because you can't hit this guy. You can't hit this guy.
The king and his court have put on more exhibition games from the North Pole to the DMZ. A Marine veteran, Feigner has played in more than 100 countries.
We played maybe 50% of our summer tour at a military base. Well, as the time went on, we ended up playing more military bases than Bob Hope. He would go in there and be big, you know, he'd have a big entourage and do a big show, and you'd see it on television. But we were on a different scale. We could be brought by a Jolly Green out and play the guys right out in the front.
7 decades on the hill equates to more than 14,000 games pitched. His whirlybird pitching motion has sent more than 140,000 plus players back to the dugout via the strikeout. Some of them were sent down blindfolded or from second base. Plus, the king has served up 930 no-hitters. Compare that to Major League Baseball's strikeout king Nolan Ryan and his 7 no-hitters. But it's not statistics or a documented 104-mile-per-hour pitch that has wowed his followers. It is his showmanship and love for the game that has entertained generations.
And so let's start the game. If you fellas are ready to play, go ahead and take the field. But don't lose all day worrying about the score. That's all you're taking care of.
Feigner is now 80 years old, and his game is still sharp, albeit from the sidelines. The king no longer takes the field, but he still dazzles the crowd with the microphone and the story of how his softball kingdom evolved.
And I said, hey, friend, you don't have a very good team. I could have struck you out, any of you, but at the same time, I could play us by catcher, but you'd walk us both. He said, you think you're so damn smart. You go back and you get your shortstop, first baseman, and catcher, and bring them down there next Saturday, and we'll play you. Well, that was the first challenge. There was a penitentiary, Walla Walla, where they let some of the softball players go in the league. Actually got outside the wall to go play in the softball league. So we played a couple of innings against those guys, 4 against 9, to find out what it would be like to play 4 against 9. And we found out that wasn't much problem, and we could all hit. So the following week, when we got down there, there was about 400 people, no advertising, just 400 people had heard of it. And I got a perfect game. I had 19 strikeouts and 2 bunts that we threw out at first. And we got in our car and went back home. And the phone had rang before I got home. And the guy said, hey, I like that game. He says, we're over here in Boise, Idaho. We're pretty good. How much did you charge to play us? And I said, I never thought of doing it for a living. And he says, well, we'd like to see you play and we'll pay you. He said, well, give us a number. I said, oh, $100, pay in the motel and take us to dinner. Not bad for a softball game. We could beat anybody back in the olden days when softball was big. We don't worry about the score anymore. We can still beat anybody. Babe Ruth made a remark to his sister. I found this out one night at a dinner. She asked me if I knew the Babe. I says, no, I never met him. I think I saw him on the railroad when he was traveling around the country talking about cancer. He died of smoking. And I said, I never did see. He said, well, he knew about you guys. He died in 48, but we started in 46. And he said, I know about that Feigner. He said, it isn't his pitching. He's got 4 great hitters back to back to back. If I had Dickie DiMaggio and Gary, we could beat any guy in baseball with 4 guys too.
More than 30 players have put on the red, white, and blue for the court. Currently, Rich Hoppy tiptoes the rubber, along with Feigner's wife Anne Marie in the infield, slugger Dave Booth, and Jack Knight. Knight is an actor and a military veteran. He's also an avid softball player and a follower of the King.
And on the 3rd of July, 1981, I got a phone call that said, "Can you be in Minneapolis tomorrow for a triple header?" I took the red eye, got an hour's sleep, drove to the ballpark, the next ballpark, the next ballpark. That was my baptism.
What would you say about him for somebody who's never seen him play before, never heard the story?
One of the most singular persons in the history of sport. A guy who booked the tour, pitched, drove almost every mile, made all the arrangements, did everything you could possibly have to do under the most impossible situations. We done shows on battleships and aircraft carriers. So every possible thing you can think of over the years, we've been there, done that.
And how outstanding is it to always be playing for charity?
There is absolutely no question in my mind that if volunteerism were to just go the way of the horse and buggy, then this country would collapse.
With the King's games being played for charity, the King and his court's efforts do not go unnoticed, as Feigner has received national recognition for his efforts off the field. And for his efforts on the field, with what many experts call one of the best arms in the history of pitching, many major leaguers have stepped to the plate trying to hit that softball. In 1967, the King struck out some of the game's most heralded hitters: Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Brooks Robinson, Maury Wills, Harmon Killebrew, and Roberto Clemente. All went down swinging. Feigner may never capture the fame as those pros, but he's revered by all that have seen him pitch as the king of his court and the king of his sport.
In Korea, I'd been to the hospital and we were doing a pitching show with the beds lined up on each side. I saw way back in the corner when I was pitching, this guy wasn't even looking down watching. So I went along talking to the guys I purposely went down to talk to him. And he couldn't move his head. He'd been hit with 6 bullets and wasn't going to live through the night. But he could talk. And he says, "King, thank you for coming over and making us laugh." He says, I saw you in so-and-so when I was a young boy. And he says, you don't realize what it does for these guys to have you come by. And he says, I know you do it on purpose. He said, I probably won't see you again in this world, but I'll see you on the way up.